The governmental landscape in South Africa has shifted once more following a revelation that left even the highest ranks of the African National Congress (ANC) speechless and shocked to their foundation. In fresh disclosures emerging from examiners connected to the Nathi Mthethwa situation. The final communication the former minister conducted before his premature passing was allegedly to the nation's sitting President Cyril Ramaphosa personally. The disclosure has generated tremors throughout the governmental arena, producing fury, bewilderment, and mistrust throughout the nation. What was communicated during that communication remains the most significant unanswered inquiry keeping the country fascinated, and the continuing quietness from the executive office has merely intensified the community's unease. South Africans have been pursuing explanations about the conditions surrounding Mthethwa's premature and puzzling passing for weeks. Originally characterized to be natural causes, inconsistencies in the official sequence and a succession of unofficial disclosures have revealed a drastically different scenario, one pointing towards probable criminal activity. Authority informants subsequently verified Mthethwa had conducted a 6-minute communication to President Ramaphosa within moments of him being found deceased in his Parisian accommodation quarters. Observers who noticed him that evening stated he was unusually stressed, anxious, and preoccupied as though he carried a weight too substantial to reveal. An accommodation employee who consented to speak exclusively under guaranteed anonymity disclosed to examiners that Mthethwa appeared troubled and extremely restless. He supposedly paced backward and forward throughout his quarters repeatedly, placed several unsuccessful communications, and subsequently placed the one that connected directly to the president. Merely days preceding his assassination, Mthethwa had reportedly confided to one of his principal assistants about possessing intelligence that would transform everything within the ANC. The assistant stated Mthethwa was referencing revealing graft systems and monetary mismanagement concerning senior representatives and lucrative state agreements. He planned to disclose the intelligence at an exclusive gathering scheduled for the following week. He reassured us not to be concerned, the assistant recalled tearfully. He mentioned he had previously contacted someone in leadership. He specifically stated if anything were to occur to me, they would understand who I finally communicated with. None of us comprehended how serious that statement was until now. When reports of Mthethwa's assassination originally surfaced, few anticipated President Ramaphosa's identity would be referenced whatsoever. However, the reality that he was the final to hold a discussion with Mthethwa before his passing has compromised his administration. At an intensely emotional media gathering on Tuesday, a journalist questioned President Ramaphosa directly if he had genuinely been communicating with Mthethwa the evening he perished. The president paused for an exceptionally extended period before responding, "I regularly communicate with my associates. Nathi and I had addressed organizational matters that evening. It was nothing unusual." Nevertheless, his calculated manner and ambiguous response merely intensified community speculation rather than resolving it. Digital platforms exploded within moments. Numerous South Africans interpreted Ramaphosa's demeanor as protective and uncertain. The atmosphere within Luthuli House, the ANC central offices, supposedly deteriorated into complete disorder. Principal organization administrators were summoned for an urgent gathering immediately following the communication documentation disclosures were publicized. Observers described furious yelling, emotional outbursts, and heated disputes as principal administrators grasped the magnitude of the controversy that was prepared to consume the organization. One principal administrator was overheard declaring, "This is no longer concerning Nathi. This will destroy the fundamental structure of the movement." If it was truly the president he finally communicated with, then citizens will be demanding genuine explanations. The ANC's publicity division has subsequently entered emergency response conditions, supposedly removing social media publications, restricting media appearances, and instructing figures not to comment anything regarding the situation whatsoever publicly. Meanwhile, rival administrators were not reluctant about exploiting the opportunity. Julius Malema, the outspoken administrator of the Economic Freedom Fighters EFF, labeled the revelation evidence that decay exists at the Absolute Summit. Speaking at a demonstration in Soweto, Malema insisted on Ramaphosa's departure, proclaiming they believe they could hide this indefinitely, but reality constantly emerges, even when the falsehoods are written in precious metal. The Democratic Alliance DA also has contributed their position to the demand for responsibility, requesting Parliament to conduct an autonomous examination into the communication and Mthethwa's killing. This cannot be suppressed internally, a DA spokesperson declared. If the president is connected in any manner, the nation has an entitlement to understand. Governmental experts state the response could devastate the ANC's trustworthiness that's previously damaged because of generations of graft controversies and organizational conflict. To compound matters, representatives have similarly suggested the likely existence of an audio documentation of the communication. Technical experts supposedly located the traces of a voice documentation program operating on Mthethwa's device at the moment of his passing. Although no audio document has been located currently, digital protection specialists are analyzing whether the information was erased or transmitted elsewhere. If that documentation exists, one enforcement representative suggested it could vindicate the president's reputation or devastate his administration indefinitely. On every digital platform, social labels including Mthethwa's Call, Ramaphosa Truth and Justice for Nathi have dominated countrywide patterns for days. Thousands of South Africans are requesting absolute transparency and the community revelation of any proof concerning the final communication. Certain residents believe Mthethwa had contacted the president seeking security, while alternative individuals believe he was notifying Ramaphosa to an approaching controversy. Whatever the circumstances are, one element is undeniable: that communication altered everything. For the present, both the executive office and the authorities are maintaining secrecy. Authorized statements have been vague, referencing continuing examinations, but unofficial administrative disclosures suggest alarm and confusion. Judicial observers caution that if substantial proof implicates the president or his closest associates, the emergency will escalate into a comprehensive constitutional catastrophe. The governmental ramifications have never been more severe, and the solidarity of the ANC, previously fragile, is approaching total breakdown. Confidants in the examination state that international enforcement personnel have currently joined the situation to trace Mthethwa's final communications and monetary activities. Accounts similarly state coded correspondences, eliminated documents, and international financial accounts connected with certain of the nation's most influential personalities are being scrutinized. One of the examiners provided a confidential observation: "There's a sequence here, and wherever it extends, it's not going to conclude peacefully." Community sentiment remains divided, but intense. Demonstrations have previously begun forming in major municipalities requesting fairness for Nathi, while alternative groups advocate for awaiting the complete evidence to surface. However, even within Ramaphosa's supporters, concern is increasing. If he has nothing to conceal, why doesn't he simply reveal to the country what they addressed? A Johannesburg citizen inquired in a broadcast discussion. The population is deserving of reality within the ANC. Divisions are expanding. Senior figures are trapped between backing the president and protecting their personal governmental positions. In confidential gatherings and private discussions, group assemblies, and concealed partnerships have grown more evident. Allegiance is diminishing strength. One previous tactician acknowledged. This controversy has the capability to collapse the complete authority foundation if it persists to grow. The catastrophe of Nathi's passing is currently transformed into an examination of honesty and administration. It has removed the barriers of confidentiality that have extensively concealed the ANC, exposing competitions, betrayals, and anxieties among its principal administration. With each successive day, the governmental intensity in South Africa escalates as the investigation advances. The examination might require months or possibly years, but community confidence has previously been damaged. Residents no longer inquire if something occurred incorrectly. They are questioning how extensive the graft and who will be held responsible. For numerous individuals, Mthethwa's passing symbolizes the dangerous intersection between authority and reality and the outcomes of what happens when honesty confronts aspiration. Until the explanations emerge, the nation remains anxious, divided and determined. The inquiry currently echoing in the streets, on digital platforms, and in legislative chambers is identical. What genuinely occurred during that final communication with President Cyril Ramaphosa? And as the pressure intensifies, one reality remains unchallenged. The ANC has never experienced a crisis like this one previously.